evening, everybody. I'm Subir Babarwal from IIHS Academic Outreach Team, and here I'm joined by my colleagues, Jagdish Krishnaswamy, Dean of Environmental Sustainability, and Gautam Bhan, Associate Professor, School of Human Development.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to see so many of you here. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I am Gautam Bhan. I'm faculty at IIHS, and I anchor a lot of our teaching on questions of urban inequality, human development, social protection, housing, and urban health.
Yeah, Jagdish Krishnaswamy. I'm the Dean of the School of Environment and Sustainability at IIHS, and I'm an eco-hydrologist and a landscape ecologist by training, and venturing into ecosystem services, nature-based solutions for our problems, and a broader area in the field of environment.
So for our hour together today, we're going to do two things. Jagdish and I will take about 20 minutes to take you through a presentation on the structure of the program. And after that, for most of the session, we'll simply answer your questions. You will see a Q&A box. That's the place to put in your questions at any time. Don't use the chat function. We'll track the Q&A box. It makes it easier for us to do so in one place. And you can enter questions at any time. But my suggestion would be wait till we are about 15 minutes in, because some of your questions may simply be answered by the PowerPoint slide. So let's get right to it. So we have a maximum time for your questions. Jagdish will start us off, and I will take a second to just set us up. Go ahead, Jagdish.
Yeah, so we have a doctoral program. It's called PhD in Urban Studies and Practice, and it's a 4-year interdisciplinary program. And the interdisciplinarity is to be defined in many broad ways. You could be from any discipline in terms of your original training, but you might want to ask an interdisciplinary question, or you might want to borrow a method from another field and apply it in another field. Your work could be straddling both the natural sciences as well as social sciences, or you could have interdisciplinarity between different topics or subjects within social sciences or in the biophysical and natural sciences. So we are open to all folks with all backgrounds, and we are interested in generating scholarship that addresses the complex problems that we face, and which will have various dimensions: social, economic, spatial, ecological, political, and institutional. And basically looking at India's rural and urban transitions and transformations.
An important point before we move on is to recognize that this is a full-time program in residence in Bangalore, and it is a fully funded program with a stipend as well. And we'll talk more about that.
So we are grounded in the Indian realities, but within the larger frame of the global South. There's an interdisciplinary framework that addresses the complex connections between different systems and human settlements, all the way from villages to megacities. And we address major global change drivers: urbanization, climate change, environmental and ecological transformations, and also equally challenging topics on the social side of things in terms of social inequality, economics, as well as infrastructural challenges. So we straddle the entire area of settlements, from all the way from semi-wild through rural to the megacities. And this informs both academic learning and training. There's also a strong commitment to research that emerges from within practice, as well as the infusion of both academic research and practice in terms of producing new types of theory, concepts, novel ideas, novel applications. And we engage with the entire gradient of settlements and social ecological systems, from semi-wild ecosystems in the Western Ghats or floodplains or Himalayas, all the way to our megacities. And it leverages the extensive network that IIHS has built over time in the practice space in terms of addressing a lot of problems in our settlements, cities, and towns, as well as our partners within India and across the world. So these are some of the themes that have emerged at IIHS through previous scholarship and practice, but also emerging areas of work. that we would like to bring in terms of new scholarship and production of knowledge. So these are climate resilient development, climate science, economic transformations in different types of human settlements, energy, which is a big issue in the country, environment, ecology, and biodiversity, land, housing, and tenurial systems, natural resource governance, rural and urban transitions, social and human development, sustainability, systems complexity and methods, which can, as you know, can be applied to any field, not necessarily any one field. Urban and regional economic development, urban governance, urban inequality, water and aquatic systems, work, labor, and economy. As you can see, these address some of the most complex and challenging issues that face us. And that's where the interdisciplinarity comes in. As I was mentioning earlier, it can emerge from the way you ask the question or the methods that you apply, or you actually need more than one disciplinary framework or a methodological framework to actually help answer those complex questions.
This is a good list to spend some time on. It's also on our website. It's also in the prospectus, so take a look at it. It doesn't mean that if you have something beyond this, though I'd be hard-pressed to find a topic outside this list that doesn't fit somewhere, but certainly this represents our focus areas in this entry point into the PhD program this year. So it's a good list to take a look at and frame your application also around speaking to some of these areas. You don't have to refer to them explicitly, but keep them in mind. So spend some time on the website on this list, and you'll see how various faculty across map their expertise to it as well.
So I'm going to give you one example of an interdisciplinary approach, and I'll ask Gautam to give another one. So if you're just taking the area of environment, ecology, and biodiversity. So for example, there are certain challenges that we have in conserving biodiversity, and that requires us to engage with the social, economic, political. And so political ecology, for example, is an interdisciplinary framework that combines our understanding of power relations and how it impacts people-nature relationships, and how do we address environmental problems through that lens. Eco-hydrology, for example, combines ecology, which is biology-oriented, and hydrology, which is geophysical-oriented, combines it, and it's a new field which has emerged. So you can also borrow methods that have been developed in one field and apply it to completely another one. So there's a lot of examples, Gautam.
So if I were to say in some of our work, if we took, I was trained as an urban sociologist and a planner who worked for a very long time on questions of housing. So for me, what's been interesting is that we used to approach housing from very much an urban regional economic development lens, linking it through planning, through land that remains at the heart of housing markets and access and affordability. But increasingly, we've also been articulating housing as a question of social marginalization, saying that housing vulnerability is as much produced by social stratification on the basis of caste and religion as it is on capital divergence or affordability questions. And now, when we are in low-income communities looking at questions of improving housing, one of the questions that's coming is not just better infrastructure, more secure tenure, more protection from eviction, but better resilience against heat stress, better resilience against everyday and episodic shocks as low-income settlements who often coincide the geography of environmental risk in our cities. They tend to be exactly in low-lying floodplains. They tend to be exactly by the edges of water bodies. So they're also feeling the questions of climate impacts actually before in many ways in other places. So even a question of affordable and adequate housing, which could, you can come at it from 3-4 of these. So topics that straddle these topics, thematics that cut across them are welcome. This gives you a sense of the kind of things that we're looking for. Okay.
So each PhD scholar who's admitted to our program will have a research advisory committee with 3 to 5 members led by us, including the supervisor. And you can have folks from within IIHS, and you can have folks from outside IIHS, and that you will basically have this committee will oversee the knowledge production, the learning, the progress of the PhD scholar right from year one.
And you will see, note that, when you put in and start your applications, that you'll be asked to indicate preferences of supervisor at this point, if you'd like to indicate a preference now. But remember that all the named faculty you see on the IIHS website can be part of your doctoral committee. So cast your net widely when you think of who is able to mentor you, who you're able to learn from, who you're able to work with. It's not a single supervisor model, as many PhD programs are. And that's an important part for us. And the fact is that this starts from the end of your first year itself. You start working with other faculty in a formal capacity, in a collective supervision context.
So I just want to mention, I've mentioned that we work across the entire spectrum from semi-wild through rural to urban megacities. But I just want to mention that in each of these places, there is an ecological, social, political, technological system that may be intersecting with a question of interest to you. So when we talk about this spectrum of settlements linked to social, ecological, technological, economic realities in each of these places, so that basically gives you the opportunity to work anywhere in the country.
Okay, so how do we do this? So for the next second half of the presentation, maybe take about 7-8 more minutes, is to take you through the actual structure of the course. So remember, it's 4 years with the possible fifth year addition also as part of the plan. So think of it as 4+1. And the first 2 years are in residence coursework. In that, you look at 4 kinds of parts of the overall process. You take core courses and core methods courses and elective courses in the first 2 years of your program. In year 3, we imagine that you are in the field or doing data work or analysis. Your field could look radically different depending on your methods and your project itself. And a year of research and writing to close up, and which can extend in some cases to the 5th year. So the arc is imagined like that: 2 years of coursework, and I'll tell you a little bit about what these courses are in a minute. And then you cross a set of qualifying exams, and then you leave the classroom, go to the field for your research, and you come back and write. And our imagination is that cycle takes 4 spilling over into 1 more, maximum 5. But we would like to keep the program tight. Many of us on the other side of the PhD can tell you that the best things, the best questions, some of the most fun is actually the project after the PhD. And we don't believe that it should be your life. So we are committed to getting you through it in a reasonable pace of time, but also in a way that lets you begin your professional career in many ways.
Just want to add that even though years 3 and 4 are dedicated for fieldwork, data collection, and the more intensive part of your actual research, even in years 1 and 2, through the coursework and the breaks between the terms, you have the opportunity to pursue some preparatory work, some testing out some data collection methods, and so on. So it's something that evolves, and then it sort of then reaches its years 3 and 4. You will then spend a lot more time on that.
Okay. So what do these courses look like? We begin with our sort of flagship core course that is jointly taught by 6 to 8 faculty in the first term of the course, the first year, which is called Interdisciplinary Approaches to Research and Practice 1 and 2. This is a core part where we lay out what it means genuinely to think with interdisciplinarity in the context of doctoral research. What does it mean to mix methods? What does it mean to move across questions that move across discipline? What is the difference between inter, multi, and transdisciplinarity? And the reason 6, 7 of us teach it is partly because we all answer this question differently, and we're not interested in flattening our differences, but actually giving you multiple ways to combine and move across disciplines. There are many ways to do it, not one. And 2, because it also is a chance where, because our supervision is collective, all PhD students get to meet and be taught by a wide range of faculty the first term themselves. And it begins to give you a sense of who you may want to work with more. Sometimes, what you think of people's interests from their CVs is not the way they are in a classroom. And then you realize you can do different things with different people. And your own understanding of your project is evolving. We also, along with that, have one core set of sequences that we are very are very important to us, which is a 3-course sequence called pedagogy and teaching. This is very key for us. Not everyone who graduates from our program will be an academic in a traditional university. That's why it is a PG in urban studies and practice, but many will. Many will find themselves in places where they're teaching, and some will be teaching outside university structures in multiple ways. So for us, when we went through our programs, we were never really engaged this deeply with questions of pedagogy and teaching. We were just thrown into classrooms. We don't want to do that. We want to think about what it means to teach, what it means to learn, and to also prepare our scholars for a lifetime of possibly being teaching-based academics. Courses on research ethics, research design. Research design is an important course for us. What it does there is that's where you workshop your proposals. You'll notice that in your application, we don't ask you for a very detailed proposal. We don't ask you for a 5-page. We don't, because you have 2 years to develop it with us. So we want to know the questions you're asking, the broad areas, but we're not looking for you to say, I've got my site, I've got my question, I've got my methods, I'm ready to go. right? We actually are saying you've got a sense of the kind of work you want to do, but you want to take the 2 years of coursework with us to develop it. That's an important consideration for you to remember. I think it's particular in some ways to our program as well. The doctoral seminar is where we seed pedagogical authority. These are student-led colloquia where the PhD cohort decides what to read together, what to read collectively. They draw on us as they need to, but really is a chance for them to fashion the kind of courses that they want. And there are 3 of these through as well. We have offerings of core methods in writing, ethnographic methods, data analytics, and spatial and temporal analytics. These are our core first-year methods. You may come with some of these and choose to deepen them. You may come with some of these and choose to do new methods. So interdisciplinarity is absolutely a methodological question, like Jagdish has been saying. So one of the important things for us is the theory courses are one thing, but the methods courses are going to be a very strong track in your first 2 years in terms of what you're doing.
Just want to add that the doctoral seminar is a really nice opportunity for peer-to-peer learning. The PhD cohort can learn from each other, and so that's an important part of the whole process.
Let me speed up a little bit. And then you get to courses this is the list of illustrative courses from this year and for next year. Some will change, some will grow, but most of them will be on offer. And you'll see the range. You'll see the reflection on the topics courses on. And so if you look at that earlier slide on our thematics and you look at this elective slide, you always find a kind of connection between the two, because that's where that list again becomes important. And these are again elective choices you take over the 2 years. This is also available on the website and also in the prospectus. So take a look there.
Just want to quickly add that if you look at those list of topics that we showed you earlier, you will see that some of the topics actually require engagement with more than one of these. Yeah. So that's how it has been.
Yeah. And you will end up taking about 3 or 4 of them across your 2 years. And I think that's important. There's only one required core course we ask of you, which is the interdisciplinary approaches, research, and practice. After that, you choose your sets. And I think that's an important way to do that flexibility. Like I said, 3 years, 3 and 4, fieldwork, data collection, and writing. Okay, so important questions again here. We are looking to take a class of 10. We have an already enrolled class of 11, so you'll be joining your colleagues, and that gives us a nice cohort of about 20 PhD students in that next year, which will grow again. So we imagine the next 3 years, there will be about between 30 to 50 PhD students across years at any given time as people start going. Our general sense is we should have about 50 at all times, and that may grow and move a little bit, but it's an opportunity now to join a very vibrant community. And remember, you're also surrounded by a very large set of postdoctoral fellows. So it's also an environment where people who are at the beginning PhD, who've just finished the PhD, including faculty, are all around you. So that way, it's a very vibrant intellectual environment to be in.
And IIHS is very strong practice program, which has a lot of practitioners working in different sites. That is also an opportunity for the folks in the cohort to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so quickly on the applications. So the applications are now open. It is a fairly simple written application. There is an online entrance exam whose date you can see, which is a proctored exam you can take from home from your own computer. And it is in that exam that also you will be asked questions to give us a sense of your trajectory, your sort of statement of purpose on why you want to apply, your research questions. That's the place to begin to detail them out. All of this is detailed in the prospectus. We can talk more about this in the Q&A as well. But I will repeat here again, it is not we don't need 3 pages. We need a good, tight, let's think of it as a sort of Pressy, a good page and a half kind of situation that outlines the broad sense of the project, that gives us a sense of the kind of questions you want to ask and why you want to ask them, and then how you see yourself as a scholar and why you're applying to an interdisciplinary program. These are the questions that we'll have an opportunity to write, but it's good to think and have these prepared and consider and mull over them before you get into that proctor exam situation. We will then have an in-person interview for shortlisted applicants. It is important that you realize, and we are bound by this, unfortunately, that the shortlist application interviews must be in person. And so we are unable to have these online for various regulatory reasons, which means that there is a travel stipend support available for people to come, but it is an important consideration. The dates for these interviews are already, I'll show you, they're also on our website and in the prospectus. So please just be prepared to have those dates to be able to be in Bangalore, because we will not be able to work around that.
Yeah.
And the final thing I've sort of put in, the exam is on the 2nd of May. Our applications close on April 27th. The exam has these 4 elements that I talked about. It has a set of multiple choice questions for which you should not need any specific preparation, but sample papers are on the website. There are questions on your thematic areas and research methods. Again, nothing that would require you to do any preparation beforehand. They should be intuitive, and there will be a wide choice of questions so that it depends, no matter which discipline you're coming from or what you've been working on earlier, you will have a question that fits your knowledge domain. So you don't have to answer questions outside that. It's not a interdisciplinary as a gatekeeping test.
No.
It'll be a quiet thing, and we just want a sense of you and your reflective critical capacity in terms of be thinking. 2 short statements on a description of motivation. So these are the things that you should prepare before that exam, and you'll have a chance to write it in that exam. And the second stage is the in-person interview.
So just to add that these questions on thematic areas or research methods none of this requires you to look at any textbook, any particular resource, but just draw upon your whatever training you've had and the interest that you have in some of these topics.
They're not informational, they're not factual, nothing has to be memorized. They're critical thinking and reflection, and that they'll be intuitive to you as scholars applying to a PhD program. Okay. And the criteria is given. There is a kind of, again, all of this is detailed. I want to get to the question, so I will go through it. You can ask us more. And last slide is, it is fully funded. There is no tuition that is charged to admitted students. All PhD students are supported with a stipend of 75,000 a month for 4 years. This is the stipend for 12 months, including your breaks and including your fieldwork year. This is very important. You don't have to raise separate resources during the time of your fieldwork. And we can extend that to a 5th year if your doctoral committee agrees. And it is a singular stipend that is meant to cover all living expenses for the scholars. The dates are, as we said, again, remember that our term starts at the end of August. We're going to send out our offers in the early July, and the critical date here is 3rd and 4th July, which are the in-person interviews in Bangalore. So please mark that. If the shortlist comes, it's necessary for you to be able to be in Bangalore in those dates. That's where we are. We'll stop sharing our screen now, and I will ask you to open up, and let me just get myself connected. I will open the Q&A box, and remember that I see some things in the chat, but just to say that anything that is in the chat we won't see, so please just repeat. I'll read one thing from the chat, and then I'm going to ask you to put things in the Q&A box. Bhupender says, Bhupender, please put all of these in the Q&A box, because I can't read it from here because I can't open 2 windows on this webinar complexity. But we cannot change the IC or 2nd May. I'm sorry, but the exam date is fixed externally, so I cannot change that. Mubashir, again, could I ask you to use the Q&A box and not the chat? So folks, I'm closing the chat now. I'm not going to read the chat, so take that. Mubashir's question, though, was about age limit. And just to say that there are no limits to applications. You can be any age and apply to the program. The only thing is, you said in-service application, and I will only remind you that this is a full-time program, so you cannot be in service if you're applying to the program. Okay, so let me pick up the questions here. Okay, so Prezi says, is there a possibility of having co-supervisors with someone outside of IIHS? Yes, you can have external people on the committee. We don't actually have the label of a co-supervisor. We have members of the doctoral committee, research advisory committee. But yes, you can, in fact, you have to have one external member. You can have 2 in discussion with your supervisor. So absolutely, we're happy to have people join us from outside. Jake, you want to take the next one? Can I apply for this having done a master's in political science?
Of course. Most welcome. People with a background in any discipline can apply to this program.
Sure. Infrastructure facilities in IIHS. I'll say it briefly, but it'll be useful, I think, to think about also just use the website for more information on infrastructure. So we are currently in the north of Bangalore, in Sadashiv Nagar, near a place called Sankey Tank, opposite the Indian Institute of Science. And we run out of an urban campus in the north side of the city. We have about 4 large teaching buildings that we are there. The pictures of the learning infrastructure, the classrooms, the technological setup are online. We also have a large 50-acre campus that is being developed in Kengeri, in the southern part of the city, which is also right now an ecological urban observatory. And so for those of you joining next year, for the later half of your PhD, you will actually be in the Kengeri campus, which is a full-scale campus being built out. Important facilities, I think, that you note is we have a very large library and a very excellent access to knowledge infrastructure, including journals, which the library has worked very hard to secure. There are very strong technological facilities and support across IT infrastructure, and all of this is available online.
Yeah, and just a couple of other things to mention. We have a word lab, an excellent facility of folks who will help you with how to write and produce popular writing or research writing, help you with all of that. The library we are very proud of, excellent support system for both faculty and students. We also have a geospatial lab. We have an urban informatics lab. So we have lots of these other labs which you can engage with as your work progresses here.
And we are currently doing this from our in-house studio with green screen behind us and stuff. So I'm speaking of infrastructures. Okay. So I'm a law postgraduate and would like to continue in legal academia. Would it be prejudicially affect a career in academia if I pursue a PhD in urban planning and practice as opposed to a traditional law PhD? So I think the question is what you mean by legal academia, right? So if I imagine, say, our fellow institution in Bangalore, the National Law School, the National Law School's own PhD program is one of their 2 offerings is an interdisciplinary PhD program. And many folks who study law in society, who study law and urbanization, who study law and governance or law and policy, I think several of our students have been lawyers both in the PG program and in our earlier teaching. And to say that it is an important part of, so I would say, think about it this way. The question is not law. The question is, what would be useful for you to come from law but come to IHS? And that, I would say, would be that because some part of your interest in law is about its intersections with some other system that we look at. So law and planning, law and governance, law and housing, in which case we would be a good place for you. So I would think legal academy is very different depending on the kind of question you ask. So ask yourself, are we a good place for the way you want to study law at a doctoral level? And if it's a more traditional question that can be studied within the legal academy, then you probably want to ask why us and why not that? That'll probably be better. Yeah. Okay, Jake will take the next one. Does the university, I can take this one. Does the university have system support for neurodivergent individuals? Yes, we do. So we have a dedicated office of student support. We also have 2 in-house counselors. We also have a 24/7 online counseling referral service. And we also have support in terms of accommodations made for students. We have many of our students now are folks who have asked for this kind of support. So it is very much part of the pedagogy on campus. And yes, and you can, if should it come to, it's something to discuss in your interview. We can talk more about it if it gets to that point. But yes, we do. Okay. Did you say it's fully funded? Okay, this one's for you.
So the stipend, as was mentioned earlier, 75,000 rupees per month is for the entire 4 years, conditional on progress from year to year, of course. And of course, there will be folks will have to get some equipment, do other things. So that is a separate set of things that funding can be made available for. Grants can be raised by the supervisor and so on. But that's a separate issue. The stipend is guaranteed for 4 years, possibly a 5th year, depending on a case-by-case basis. And that's why we're calling it the fully funded.
And there is no tuition. So just to remember. So it is fully funded in the full sense of the word.
Yes.
We don't need to read any books or papers for the exam, but what about the interview? Will you be asking academic questions about the chosen topic? Not academic questions. We will want to know why this is your topic. We will want to know where you came at. You are coming after a master's degree. We'd want to know how you've engaged with these questions before. So we would want to understand your research trajectory, your intellectual statement. So those two statements you write in the exam, your research questions and methods, as well as we'd want to know why you're applying to IIHS and taking thinking about the fits that you have with an interdisciplinary program. So we will not ask you academic questions in the exam style, but we would want to see alignment, we would want to see depth, we would want to see your ability to talk about your project, and and really to see if there's a good fit with us.
And, critical thinking, it's not about knowing certain jargon, knowing certain terms and definitions. It's more about how you're thinking about the topic that you're broadly interested in. And you don't have to have had a lot of experience or knowledge in that area. You're beginning to get interested in that. And it's just an inquiry into how you're thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take the next two, and then Jackie, will you read this long one until then?
Yeah.
So Bhupender is saying he doesn't have a referee. So Bhupender, you can ask, the referee system, we understand it can be an issue, but think widely. Could be someone you work with, could be a mentor, could be someone who just knows you in a professional situation. Doesn't necessarily have to be an academic referee. Okay, so think about who can vouch for you in different ways. Someone who taught you in your master's, an internship you did, a colleague in a social movement you've been part of, someone who's been part of a volunteer work that you did. So think just very widely about who can write a statement on your behalf. Doesn't have to be a very strictly academic referee. I'll just answer the next one quickly. My master's course will end in June. Can I apply? So the thing is that you do need a completed transcript on the day you join. So that's the only consideration. As long as you can have a completed, because one of the eligibility criteria is mandatory for all programs under UGC regulation, which is a minimum 55%. So we need evidence of that. So you will need to be able to produce that marks transcript for that June. So it depends when your results come out. Yeah. JK, the next one. I'll just read the question really quick. Oh, you want to read it out? Yeah.
Yeah, I come with an interest in eco-hydrology and a background in wildlife ecology and environmental sciences, which have given me an appreciation for the interdisciplinary approach to addressing problems. However, I do not already have an exposure to methods in humanities or social sciences. Is that going to make it difficult, whether conceptually or pedagogically, to start through the academic program at IIHS? Not at all. I'll tell you why. We already have folks with an ecology background in the first cohort, and they have been taking courses which are exploring the social, economic, or political dimensions, in terms of an interdisciplinary framework. Similarly, these folks who have a background in the social sciences or humanities are being exposed to the biophysical, ecological, environmental dimensions of these problems. So it works both ways, and people have to get a little bit out of their comfort zone one way or the other. So in that sense, I think it's there's no advantage to any one particular disciplinary background. That's how the program is designed.
Okay, so again, Babadrani is asking, I'm a history postgraduate. Can I apply? We'll reiterate, you can apply from any disciplinary background, but ask yourself, why do you want to study at an interdisciplinary urban studies and practice PhD? So are you looking at urban history or settlement history? Are you looking at history in intersection with something else? So why apply from history to an interdisciplinary program? So just make sure that you articulate to us what your question is. The fact that you studied history before is great for us. We're happy. In fact, one of our current PhD cohorts has degrees, both bachelor's and master's in history, right? And is part of our cohort now. About the master's finishing in August, same answer. The condition is that the transcript will be required. So I feel like if you're finishing end of August, this year will not possibly be right for you because you won't be able to get the results and we will not be able to confirm your admission because we start in end of August. So I think that would be too tight a timeline. So Kushi's asking, what should be the content of a writing sample mentioned in the application form? And just take this also with the other one that says, I'm a recent postgrad that doesn't have academic publications. Can I apply for the program?
So the writing sample could be anything. Not everybody is going to have a published article which is at the end of masters. It's going to be anything that you may have written. So it's a very broad, just to see how you're thinking, how you are communicating your ideas. So it's just that, and it's not anybody. There's no requirement that you would have had to have published a research article, and that's not a requirement at all. So just want to make that clear.
Yeah. So, Bhupendra, I'm sorry we can't have an audio facility for this because we have nearly 100 people on the webinar, so we won't be able to control that. And I will ask you again not to use the chat function because I can see you typing in it, but I can't read it on the screen. So just to say, happy that you're typing in the Q&A. Okay, I was keen to know about funding and support systems for conference presentations and participation. Jackie, you want to take this?
Yeah, so we have in our support for the PhD program, we also have for one conference, domestic conference, international conference support will be made available. So that's part of the other support. Apart from the stipend and free tuition, we also have these other forms of support, because this is an important, presenting your work in a conference is an important part of the PhD journey.
Yeah. So two questions here. How important is it to already have some experience working in areas closely related to the research questions we have? How important is it for the writing sample to be related to our research questions, whether the piece of writing has to be academic? So let's answer all the writing sample questions together and reiterate them. One, we are interested, again, the writing sample question is just for us to get a sense of your writing. And the publication question is not mandatory. It's if you have, right? They don't have to be academic publications. You could have written a blog, you could have written a practice report, you could have written a working paper, you could have written a nice assignment in a master's course.
Even a letter to the editor.
You could have written of various kinds. It gives us a sense of your voice, a sense of something you've written. It can even be a more collective piece of work, and then you just write a note and say, this was my part in that work. It's to give us something that you have put out earlier that gives us a sense of your voice. It rounds out your application. It does not have to be deeply related to your research topic. It does not have to show disciplinary expertise. Okay? So feel free to draw more personal writing. You may be an excellent fiction writer. We're happy to read that. We'd be actually nice to read some fiction in the middle
Short
of the
story,
short
anything.
stories. Give us a sense of the way you write. That's what we're looking for. Are the classes online, only in person? Only in person. It's a full-time residential program. Is it necessary? I've answered the writing sample question. Writing sample question, I will skip again. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Is there a format in which you need to follow, submit the proposal? Are we allowed to print our proposal beforehand and then type it? Could you please repeat what you expect of the proposal at the application stage? So what we can say is this. You do have to type it in, right? So think about it beforehand. It is not uploadable, so you can't have a prepared sheet, but it is a good idea for you to have what you want to say pretty much prepared, whether in points or in the language of it. So at that time, you can sit and kind of write it out cleanly. You don't want to be thinking of it on the spot. The questions will guide you, but really what we want to know is, what's the big question? What is the research question that you bring to a PhD? And remember that it's a PhD question. It should be something you can spend 4 years of your life looking at. It should give us that sense of complexity. We would like a sense that you've thought about this question for a while, right? So that it can bear up to deep doctoral inquiry. That's what we would like to see. We would like to get a sense of if you have some ideas of how you want to ask it. You say to us that I feel ethnographically inclined. I want to do field-based work. I imagine modeling. I want to work with large empirical data sets. I'm a statistician. I want to work with the archives. So give us some sense of, and you'll have some prompts that will help you as well. So basically, we want to finish reading a sense that, okay, this person has thought about why they're coming to the PhD. They've thought about their question. They have a set of possible methods. They have already begun. Then we can refine it over the next 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, it's wide arena of.
Swami is talking about accommodation details in campus. So because you have the 75,000 rupee stipend, Swami, PhD students are not given hostels. They take accommodation near in Bangalore. You have an option for transitional stay in our hostels when you first come to Bangalore while you look for a place. And you could, if you'd like, actually take up the hostel facility on a payment basis, if you like. But all of our PhDs basically have found rented homes of their own near campus. All of them live within 15 minutes of the campus, actually. So that's been quite easy. Okay, political science background, don't have a PG dissertation. My term papers are on those themes. Am I supposed to submit one of them as a writing sample, or should I work on something new?
I think that's your choice. I mean, you could pick on something that you like of what you've done in the past, or you could write afresh. I mean, it's...
Yeah. Vishnu saying, is there a word limit or page limit for the research proposal? Nothing to fix. Think of it as think a good long op-ed length, not longer than that. Yeah. Okay, can we take a course outside of IIHS to meet coursework requirements? You can't, I'm afraid, because Indian academic regulations don't allow that at this point. Accommodation is going to be within the campus, or candidates have to arrange outside. PhD students arrange their own accommodations. How the interviews are conducted. Sure, the interviews are in are about an hour, and you typically have one of the most likely people you mentioned as preference 1 or preference 2 in your application, and then other members of the teaching faculty. It's a very informal conversation. It's 2 people and you. It's not a 5-person. It doesn't feel you can see we're a fairly relaxed faculty. We don't have and it's really a chance to get to know you better and talk through your questions. It's not a gotcha moment. We're not assessing you. We're not looking at specific things. We really just want to get to know you better, because if you made the interview, we are already excited by your research question. We already think there's a very high chance, and we just want to get a sense that you have considered your decision to apply for the program. That's really what we're looking for. For us at the interview stage, it's confirmation, it's an exploration of interdisciplinarity, it's a sense that we are a good place for you, just as you are a good place for us. It's about an alignment of fit. Those are the kind of things we look for.
And when the composition of the folks will be talking to you is based on certain things, your background interests. So we try to find the folks who would be able to have a nice conversation with you. So that's
yeah. So Subhay, if you're on the call, can I ask you, in case there are things in that chat we're missing, could you just copy paste them into the Q&A? One of the IHS staff, that way I'm not able to respond.
No problem. I'll do
yeah, thank you. Okay, so are students allowed to take on paid research writing consultancies while being full-time PhD candidates at IIHS? No. It is an intensive program. Look, you have breaks. We understand that people have different ways to economics. But ideally, even in those breaks, we would like you to be doing some work. So that is why the program guarantees you 12 months of support. And so I think it's important. We would like you to be present entirely. So it would be highly discouraged.
I just want to mention that, amounts don't matter. But the thing is that this is a fairly generously funded PhD program. And we want your energy and your thinking to go into everything that we have in the PhD program. So
my area of interest in environmental history, can I apply? Yes. Blanket answer, you can apply from any background that you like. Okay. By when should we submit our our recommendation letter? The deadlines are in the prospectus. We'd like it by the 27th. If it stretches a bit, it's okay. We certainly need it before the interview, because we would like to have read them before the interview. No word limit or any expectations, really. Just again, it is one, we take all of these as inputs into reading your application as a whole. No single one of them is given over importance over the other. Okay. JK, if someone wants to do PhD in urban big data analytics,
welcome.
Can you come? Yes, JK has a lot of statistical and econometric work of his own. And remember, our urban informatics lab is really a dedicated place where large-scale data work happens. Our library has access to large-scale databases, including private ones like CMIE, not just public databases. There's access to that data. There is teaching in data analysis. There are methods courses. And one of our current PhD students is actually working on a very large data set as part of his PhD.
And I just want to mention that the 2 big philosophical schools in analyzing data, the frequentist and the Bayesian, both are very much part of our PhD program.
JK feels strongly about this. That's what to say. Are candidates with their own fellowship eligible to apply? If I understand that question. You mean you may have a JRF already? Yes. So if that's the case, then we would top up the difference, because we don't want our PhD students to have differential access. So we would top that up. But yes, you are eligible to apply. Does a stipend receive an annual increment? Is it 75K a month? At this point, it is set, but it may be revised on a periodic basis to match inflation. But at this point, we are guaranteeing the 75 for 4 years. I would like to know if it's possible to take a course on QGIS and remote sensing. There are many courses. You can take them at an introductory level with the master's students. You can take it at an advanced level with the doctoral students. You can take a only PhD geospatial course. You can take a more middle course. So there are many levels of remote sensing courses that you can take. Not to sound too corp, but will gaps in career be a net negative? Absolutely not. No, more practice the better. Tell us about what it was, and really what we'd like to hear is if you went into work or a gap in career, what were you doing? And including, it doesn't mean you weren't doing paid work, but you were thinking, you were reflecting. It brought you back to a PhD. So just tell us the story.
You might have spent some time in an interesting place. You might have gained something there. It's anything.
Or you may have had care responsibilities and had to just step back in order to do that for parents or children or spouses. All of those are valid. So no worries on career gaps. We don't think of them as gaps. So we're not looking at that. PhD in ecology, absolutely. You have JK Head, look him up, apply to us. Would you be assessing based on the literature review on the chosen topic? Absolutely not. We want to know about the question. We want to know about your ideas, about your curiosities, right? Literature review is a much later part of writing, but in your application, really focus on your questions. Tell us what you're curious about. Tell us what you want to. This is a research degree for 5 years. Okay. So it's really important that you need to be excited about the prospect of researching something for 5 years. Make us feel that excitement. That's your job. We don't need literature. We don't need citation. We just need a sense that you have thought about this question and done work to say, this is the question I want to do my PhD in. Okay, thank you for mentioning PhD is fully funded. I want to clarify whether this funding also covers fieldwork expenses. Yes, it is through your third year. When you're not in residence, your stipend continues for the entire 12 months. If a scholar already has independent funding, is there flexibility to begin fieldwork during the coursework phase? Periodically in your break, some preliminary, but not long-term fieldwork, no.
I just want to point out that the stipend is one support. That means when you're doing field work, you're getting the stipend. But there will be additional expenses, some equipment you may have to get. There may be some travel expenses to some sites and so on. So that is separately arranged. And that is part of any PhD program. And sometimes this equipment may be available at IIHS. Your supervisors may have access to certain facilities or some such arrangement would be made.
Okay, so Kunal is saying he's a practitioner. Work is primarily focused on rural areas within the water sector. The PhD is titled Urban Studies and Practice, Limited in Urban. This is right up Jagdish's territory.
See, the degree is it's got urban in it. But as we have clearly mentioned, as long as you're looking at any form of human settlement, whether from semi-wild all the way to mega cities, and you have a strong human dimension to the problem that you're addressing, and clearly, water sector is a something that so you're very much welcome here.
Please apply. Okay, so how much of our PhD proposal is expected to be empirically driven? How open is the program to be doctrinally or conceptually oriented research design? You can absolutely write a philosophical proposal to us. Remember again, think of why we would be the good place to do that. So find people who philosophically share those inquiries among the faculty, right? So very happy to do something that doesn't have to be empirical in the classic sense. But remember, even ontologically driven philosophical inquiries have empirics. They may be different kinds of empirics, but you can absolutely write us a more conceptual or more theoretical proposal. We'll be happy to consider it. Okay, I have interest in finding out the ground reality of certain urban phenomena like slum conditions. I really want to inculcate it in my research. Does IIHS support the field survey approach if one wants to make a comparative study of slums in India? This was much work that I have done. And again, the question of whether IIHS would support a field survey, we will support any method that is required for your questions. We have no presumptions of which method we should do or not do. So the question would be, is the field survey approach the right method for your question and your project? That's the only thing we'll ask. Otherwise, you can take methodologically, you can go any direction you like across the disciplines. How is the first batch? How was your experience with them so far? What stands out for you among the cohort? Okay.
I think, I don't want to mention any specifics, but we have a very diverse set of folks in our first cohort, and they're looking at questions all the way from ecology and environment to women, labor,
history of collective organizing, trans belonging
gender,
in Hyderabad, questions of human-jackal relations and the peri-urban, history of caste and enterprise in Dharmapuri, a history of heat in Gulbarga. So super interesting. It's been wonderful to watch them actually in the first term course learn how to talk to each other. The ecologist talking to the historian, talking to the sociologist. A really great set of people. Actually, it's been wonderful. We've been waiting a long time for this cohort. So So it's been really nice.
And we have learned from them as well. It's been a lot of fun working and teaching.
In many ways. Yeah. Okay. So I want to pursue a PhD in ecology. Can you? Absolutely. It's really clearly one of the topic lists. So guys, on questions like this, if it's on that list we showed you, but even if it's not, if you find it somewhere in some faculty's interest, we do not discriminate by topic. Okay. I'm from political science background. I don't have a PhD dissertation. I already answered this question earlier. Okay. I have completed my MA in linguistics. Passion was the study of language, is matched by my awareness of urban issues. I want to weave these two concerns together and build meaningful research. I wish to explore how linguistics can engage with urban questions and contribute to interdisciplinary scholarship. Is this path possible? Absolutely, yeah. If I were to pursue a PhD in this area, what kind of career opportunities might open up? So yes, you can absolutely do a question of linguistics and take that entry point. We have several faculty members who come from the fields of literature and linguistics and cultural studies themselves, and there's a lot of great work in the urban humanities on this. If you were to take this direction, Siddharth, then you would really be asking yourself whether you want to take a more academic route and sort of be in more interdisciplinary humanities departments. So, for example, the kind of HSS departments in the IITs would be an excellent interdisciplinary humanities place for you to be at. But also now with the advent of large liberal arts undergraduate programs across India, these are the kinds of academic positions that are very much present. You could also choose a practice career more in urban cultural space. You could be part of urban cultural organizations. One of our comrade institutions in Bangalore is the Science Gallery, where a lot of people post PhD work on science communication and culture and language. So many kind of directions that you could take. That would depend on whether you want to go towards the research side and be university based, or want to go to the practice side and be engaged in a different kind of way. Do you expect us to have a good publishing record? We don't expect you to have a publishing record at all. You are applying to be PhD students, not professors. Whether seats filled as per reservation policies. So we do not have reservation in the PhD program. So at this point. That said, it is important for us to say that our current batch also has a diversity of scholars across caste and first generation learners. And that's something that at IIHS we are committed to across our programs. I have an exam in May end. I cannot provide SEM 4 mark sheet, but I have mark sheet up to SEM 3. I'm sorry. That's going to be not going to be possible. We are bound to have your 55% verified by a final mark sheet in the master's program. Can I submit a book review as a writing sample? Absolutely, as long as you wrote it and it's yours. Yeah. Okay. In terms, sorry, what happened? Answer live, done. Okay. I'm trying to race. I have 30 more. Okay. In terms of opportunities, there's scope in central government jobs after PhD. So Bhupendra, there, it depends on which department. Central government, some jobs in central government are very restricted and only accept degrees of certain kinds. Others are not. Certainly, there are opportunities after the program to work with the government. But if you're talking about jobs in the government, then those conditions will really vary by the job you mean. So certainly you can apply for jobs in central universities if that's what you mean. So I would say it would depend on what you meant by it. Okay.
Yeah. I'm interested in working in rural areas on water, agriculture, and climate change. That's a big program. I mean, all these topics are mentioned earlier, so most welcome.
You can indicate, yes. So just quickly on here. So a fourth semester PG program completed in May. It's asking for the postgraduate degree. Put the grade card in for now. And then we will, by the interview, we will not be able to confirm admission that without it. Can I indicate in the question for published works? You can absolutely just say forthcoming in the citation, and that's more than enough. Can we get funding for international conferences? Well, we have some support, but the way things are going now with international travel, certainly the national conferences support is much higher. But yes, it is possible to get funding across. Will future campuses be conducted in Kengeri or Sadashiv Nagar? So 26, 27 will be entirely in Sadashiv Nagar. It is from 27, 28 that we will begin tentatively more teaching. But you will get a chance to go to the Kengeri campus many times because many things happen there: events, sports, gatherings. A lot of the teaching in the postgraduate program actually happens. Students in the postgraduate program spend a day a week at the Kengeri campus in various teaching environments.
So you're most welcome to visit our campus.
Can we take help from LLM to write our writing sample? To what extent, as long as the idea and original draft is ours? I'm going to say this. we want to hear your voice. We are unconcerned about whether your voice sounds more or less sophisticated. So if you're doing it because you're worried that you will sound cleaner and smoother and better edited, don't worry. The minute it starts to sound like an LLM, we can tell, and it's going to work against you. And if in the interview we sense that there was LLM in the writing, look, we're not going to take a position on it. We've not said don't do it, but our whole thing is you don't need it. We encourage you to speak in your own voice and not worry about quality of English or grammar, if that's what you're worried about. We're interested in the articulation. We're interested in your passion. Try and avoid it as much as you can. Do I have to submit an English proficiency test? Nope. Accommodation is provided in the campus. As we said, PhD students make their own accommodation. Can we access a recording of this webinar? I'm going to hold that and ask Sobe to answer it at the end because we don't know. Sorry, I'm just running because we have. What are the average rents in the neighborhood? Okay, guys, this I think you can figure out when you get to shortlist. I think this is not a webinar question for us. Certainly, all our students found housing. That's what you want to know. Is it possible to get in touch with the current PhD candidate? Sure. Yeah, I think you could write into the. Why don't you write into the admissions email there, and they can put you in touch if you'd like.
A couple of them are probably on LinkedIn and
social media. Yeah,
look them up.
Sure. Can you please answer if I want to pursue my PhD in ecology in IIHS? What is the procedure? There's no separate PhD in ecology. We have one PhD program across all our schools. So that's the one that we've been talking about. Can we combine academic and non-academic works? Absolutely, you can. Is the opportunity limited to UGC net? We don't consider that at all. You can apply without it or with it. Are the publications requirement? No requirements for publications. I'm just running through. Can we talk to our PEFL supervisors before the interview? Sure. Our emails are publicly available. Please reach out. We'd be happy to chat with you. I'm in my 4th semester. I've answered this earlier. Does UGC net is not part of eligibility? No. Is there an expected format, a book documentary for the PhD? Well, I mean, it has to be a significant, so what it says is, it has to be a significant piece of original substantive research and knowledge. The formats can vary. We would be very open to media formats. It has to have some writing, and it has to have significant writing, but certainly a combination is possible. We don't specify a book. You could work with papers. You could work with combination.
A chapter could look like a published paper, or it could be a chapter in the conventional sense, so whichever format.
Okay, I think these are from the chat. Criteria for shortlisting for the interview, it's on the side. The 70% is weighted on the written application and the multiple choice exam. Those two add up and those marks are looked at for the interview. That is the only criteria. Can you explain a few topics which are welcome for urban studies? I'm already working on a GIS project. Can you continue? Yes, but we would not, I mean, for us, we want to know what are you using GIS to do? Is it a GIS-based project on hydrological estimation with urbanization, peri-urban areas? Is it GIS for land use and urban region development? So GIS is your method, but what are you using it to do? So that is what we would want to know. I have a master's in geomatics, scope to connect to latest technologies. Yes, absolutely. Very much so. They're both across the geospatial and informatics labs. Okay, during the interview, will there be any slot for PowerPoint presentation? No. We want to talk to you. You don't have to present. We don't want to enter into that. Is it mainly 2-year residential? Yes, 2 years you have to be in residence, after which we hope that you could pass your qualifying exams and go to the field and you can return to residence for your writing. Candidates without net are eligible. I think these are from the chat. I want to work on, JK?
Yeah.
I want to
work on Potter WASP. Is there any possibility, opportunity? So the way I would put it is this. You have to link the biodiversity to some other dimension related to human settlements or conservation or human nature relationships. So you will have to put the Potter WASP in that context. So, I mean, I'm just saying that if I'm just giving an example. If somebody wants to go to some wild place to discover a new species of frog, that this is not the place to come in. But on the other hand, if you are coming up with a conservation model for either an ecosystem or a species that brings in other dimensions that are required for conservation, which include social, economic, political, along with the ecology, including lots of ecology in it. But it has to have that broader context.
How would I know your faculty? I need some of their works. We are all on our website. It has bios of us. It has our academia profile, our LinkedIn profile, our Google Scholar profile. You can find all of us, ihs.ac.in. How is the campus resisting Gen AI? We will tell you when we find out. We are struggling, fighting internally among the faculty. We have agreements, disagreements. We're using it, we're not using it. We're trying to be pragmatic. We're worried about pedagogy. We're using it in our own research. Everything is happening with Gen AI inside IHS. Can I work on how commodity and emergence of market in towns? Yes, you can. Articulate it as a question. Try and think about what it is that makes you ask that. Testing water quality in urban lakes and looking at it with governance lens still comply with definitions of IHS?
Yeah, so I mean, testing water quality is a technique, right? And of course, urban water systems are very important for human well-being as well as for water security. So as long as you're able to place whatever interest you have in this broader context, I mean, then it's the details don't matter then.
Chike, do we learn grant writing, and what are the industry collaborations doctoral students looking to pursue sustainability program can look forward to?
So, so there are various ways of being able to do this. One is you can actually have somebody from industry in your doctoral committee. I mean, that could be one way of bringing that, bridging that. There could be your field site could encompass something which is belongs to a corporate body or a campus or an industry for that matter. So there are ways in which you can bring this into the PhD program.
How many PhD scholars will you take this year? The answer is 10.
10.
Would there be an opportunity requirement for teaching us during the PhD course? There is in Pedagogy and Learning 3. We expect you to co-teach or be a teaching associate with one of the faculty, but it's part of your credit requirements in the third term of Pedagogy and Learning, but only one term. So one course for one 12-week term, not more than that. Paper publication, I think I answered this question earlier. No gate, no net required. You can submit anything as your writing sample, including what's published in newspaper. Previous question papers are online. The MCQs are right there on the free side. How long should your fieldwork be in for the writing? We would like it to be a year each. That's our thing. We understand it'll go up and down a little bit, but we like it to be about a year of fieldwork and a year of writing. Yeah, I'm a government officer in Urban Development Department. Distance learning is unfortunately not available, Vinod. I'm sorry. I hope one day, but at this point, this one is a full-time program. I've answered this earlier. Career opportunities beside academia. Yeah. So no worries, Bhupendra. Thank you. Bhupendra says he's joining this webinar while riding almost night in a hilly area. Can be some network issue, may get disconnected. Sorry in advance. Please don't say sorry. Thank you for joining.
And please focus on the
and please focus on the road and don't type as you're going there. Is maternity leave a possibility? Always. It's your right. So absolutely, we would adjust your timelines if that became the case. Career opportunities besides academia? Very good question. I mean, many of us who joined IHS joined because IHS always combined research practice and training together. So all of us have large practice projects. All of us have client-based projects. We do work with public systems in addition to doing our own research. We anticipate many of our faculty are identified as practitioners and didn't pursue PhDs. And we really anticipate that many of our graduates will work with government, will work with international agencies, will work with think tanks, will work with if some of them work in employment, I hope will work with enterprises and startups. One of our current cohort PhD students spent 20 years as the head of HomeNet South Asia as a labor organizer, and she intends to go back to the organizing sector when she's done, doesn't intend to stay in the academy. So we really are very open about the PhD being a pathway that gives you a lifetime of relationship to knowledge, but not necessarily within the university. Okay?
Yeah. Does awarding the PhD degree require publishing the doctoral research in journals during the 4th and 5th years?
Oh, no. It doesn't have to be published. No. Sorry if I misunderstood that. No, you don't. You don't need to have it published. That is not a requirement for us. Your dissertation, in whatever form, has to satisfy your doctoral committee and a set of external examiners in your defense. That's it. It doesn't have to be published externally. Yeah. Will we be working on faculty projects during the semester? I hope not. You should be working on your own projects during the semester and beyond. So if you have faculty you work closely with, I suppose you could look at some collaborations. But our imagination is you're here to really shape and lead your own work. So we wouldn't want to pull you out from that.
Nobody's going to give you a project as your PhD. It's something that you fashion and craft yourself.
Yeah, and that's the way. Okay, we are at 7:05 and we have made our way through our questions. I look and it says 99. I don't think that's bad for an hour. I hope, Subir, we picked up everything that also came in the chat. I think you copy
Yeah, I
pasted it.
mean, I can read out a few of them because they're still left unanswered on the chat.
Do you want to just maybe give us two because we are over time and then we'll just pick a couple of pressing ones? You're more than welcome, guys. I'm so happy to answer your questions and thank you for coming. Any pressing ones that you feel we didn't cover, Subir? You want to throw them out for us?
Sure, I'm just quickly going through them.
Take care, Lakshmi. So, folks, hope to see many
So,
of you in the application portals. Yes, go ahead, Subir.
one is there any language support for first generation learners who do not have strong academic background in English?
Yes, so
Yes.
we have so Jagdish was talking about our word lab, and that is a dedicated set of 15 people who help in precisely in language support and training to all students. They also help us in writing, editing, publication. And so it's absolutely a set of support for you. So please don't let that hinder you.
The next
Ankita's
question is, do we
wait,
learn?
we've got a compliment. We have to
Yeah.
read it. JK, you want to read it?
First webinar I attended, which was so friendly and genuine. Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome,
Ankita.
Ankita.
You made our day.
Made us feel good. This is also what our institutional culture is like. We're like this only. So that's why we're saying try and apply. Tell me, Subir, what else?
Amazing. Um, do we learn grant writing and what are the industry
I
collaboration?
answered that.
Yeah.
I answered
Okay.
that in the thing. Thanks,
I'm doing a
Kushi. Good luck.
Okay.
fellowship now that will complete in October. Is it possible for me to join them?
They have a fellowship that completes in October. No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You'll miss the entire first term. I'm afraid August entry is not negotiable.
This is an interesting question. I'm a government officer in the urban development department.
I answered that. I answered
Okay,
that there.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it. We've answered everything.
Okay, so I'm just going to close with this last question that has popped up on the learning support you have for neurodivergent students. So, like I said, so part of the support is in support to therapy, counseling, and referral and advisory networks. And it is and I would also say that in terms of your examination schedule, there are accommodations. So you could think about time for your qualifying examinations. We've also received requests for certain testing environments. So students who need a quiet room, who need an ability to stand down or need a grounding space, those are partly there. The faculty is aware. We do our best. We are trying, and I think that one of the things that we have been able to do is that we've been able to sort of bring full-time mental health professionals and academics into the university. So we have in-house people who are helping us. Like every institution, we will make mistakes, but I think the good thing is we are always trying to learn and do better, and we are very aware of some of the needs. And if there are specific concerns, you can always write into our admissions email, and we'll respond there as well. Okay.
Thanks, Anamika, for your appreciation of the discussion.
Okay, here we go. Okay, perfect. Please share this information via mail. I missed the. So all the information we shared, including the PPT in the first, is on ihs.ac.in. You can get the same information is on the website, and you can download the prospectus. It's short and tight, and it's just the PhD. This time we separated the master's prospectus, so it's just things that you need.
So just folks, just look at all this material, think about it, look us up. Look at the type of work that has been being done by the faculty and make up your minds, and we welcome you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Take good care. Have a great rest of your evening wherever you are. I hope Bhupendra is no longer riding in the hills in the night on his phone, and we will see. You're welcome, Soumya. Take good care.
And then just that, I hope peace returns soon.
Yes. So final summaries. Fully funded, no tuition, no net, no gate, no other exam, just our application process. Your writing sample can be anything and can be broad. It doesn't have to be published work. You do not require to have published work in journals to get your PhD. You only have to clear the internal criteria of evaluation and defense. The interview is non-negotiable in person, so please lock those dates if you're applying. You don't need to do any extra preparation for your written exam, except to consider and articulate the two things mentioned in the prospectus. Yeah. One, a description of your research proposal at about an op-ed length, think about a page and a half, have your points in preparation. and an intellectual statement of why you want to do a PhD at this point in your life. Tell us that you're certain. Tell us you've thought about it. Your writing sample can be different from your PhD inquiry. Remember, you've got 2 years of coursework for us to teach you. We're not interested in you already knowing everything about your inquiry. Then what would we do for 2 years in class? So you'll have time. Okay, now we really have to close, so we'll stop. Okay, thanks everyone.
Take care.
Take care and good luck, and hope to see many of you there. Bye.
Bye.